Welcome to a new series that I'm trying to start. It's going to be called Game Talk. Today, we're going to be having a few different topics to talk about, and Game Talk is going to be all about video games. That's what we're talking about in this series. So, to start off, my game on Steam, Everyone Moves With You, is going to be having an update with new levels and characters coming soon. This is major news. It is going to have World 2 finished up pretty soon, and I'm going to have a new character, a paladin, being added to that game. Next, we have a recent major update to games. We have a Ready or Not new major update happening. This game has come from bare bones, very much a rough made game, to finally being nearing AAA quality. This game is set as you are playing as a SWAT member and you clear out areas. Is hyper realistic with different scenarios, different locations, and stories to back up each location. Altogether, it is a very nice game, very fun, that has come a long way, but it is the start of something very important that we are all seeing. People are starting to move from AAA games to indie games, as we can all tell, since the AAA market has been letting us down recently. Not always, but they have an incredible amount. We've seen major setbacks starting from Halo all over to other AAA games that we've lost interest in from major studios. We have new indie games that are propping themselves up and getting much more attention, much more downloads, and overall much more quality from them in just a whole manner of speaking. This is very important, a major shift in games, as now is the time to be making new games and making your own, and this just proves that anyone can make their own game, since we now have people on their own single-handedly making games that do way more sales, way more downloads than AAA games that had whole studios working on them. One example is a new game we recently had with a one-person team who worked on it. I think it said he worked on it for about a year. Is Choo Choo Charles, the new horror shooter game that we have. It's I have not played it yet. I have watched a few videos on it, but it looks to be very, very high quality with a very unique look. It is by far one of the highest quality indie games I've seen in quite a bit of time. It looks incredible. I highly recommend people check it out. But it is just one more bit of proof that we are all moving more towards indie games now and not relying on AAA studios anymore. AAA studios have been letting us down with new games year out and year out. You see the new Call of Duty games, the same thing over and over, but bumping the price up more and more. We see all these Battle Royale games, how they jumped on that to try and farm money out of us. But now more people are going towards indie games. This is a very big thing and a very important thing to keep track of. Another indie game that came out somewhat recently this year is Night at the Gates of Hell, made by Torture Star, and I believe it was Torture Star and another group. I forget their name, but I can look it up. Give me 1 second here. But what they did was they created this very unique zombie PS2 type of game. It's a very unique game, very cool, very fun, highly recommended, but it is another indie game. It is not made by a large studio, but yet if you take and play that game, and with my personal favorite, put on the PSX filter over it to make it more pixelated and retro looking, it gets a super unique feel. And it is a very, very in-depth game. And again, like I said before, made by a indie developer, made by Black Eyed Priest, Henry Horror, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but and Torture Star Video. is currently on Steam. It is a very nice game that we all should be looking at. I highly recommend it, and we have seen another indie game going towards that. There are still some games that we still look at from AAA studios that are doing good. Currently, we, of course, some of us remember Red Dead Redemption 2 that we still play. That's a very high-class game, AAA studio. Very nice. Well, not one of my favorites, but it is an incredibly good game. It is very nice, and that is one from a AAA studio that actually held its time and held its look and still was good and wasn't there to just milk money out of you. We saw the new Wolfenstein Youngblood not too long ago. That's about a year out. A major letdown, I would say, but it was very nicely looking. It had great graphics, just the story was lacking. It definitely did not compare to older Wolfenstein games we had. Which brings me to another look. We have multiple AAA games failing us, like I said, but we have the new Need for Speed out. We have the new Rainbow Six Siege season out. It has new operators, which, I mean, they give a new operator practically every month, but who really cares? Mainly, I see that game making a jump back suddenly. Not much else. I mean, it has some jump back, but they are releasing anti-cheat software to make it better, which is overall a great thing to be looking at. But now back to our closer, which will close out this talk. We have the Ready or Not update. Ready or Not is a very, very great game that took a lot to put into it. It came from, I bought it about, I would say 6 or so months ago, around there, and it was it was good, but it was very rough. It had 5 maps, I believe, maybe 6, and it was very basic. Everything was basic in it. It was not the best. And now we see that it has come back to top notch. The new update released now has all sorts of new maps. We got about 4 new maps, I believe. It was a child fame area, a online data storage company, and a hospital. And we also got a full other map, which I'm forgetting right now, but they were all pretty great, I will say. We do have new AI fixes. They have some of the glitches and bugs that were happening were fixed. We have a complete transition to PBR textures, which fixed the lighting and made the lighting much better overall. Made performance a little better, I believe. In some areas, they got mods and lots of support for that. We got a whole bunch of different things. Overall, it is a highly recommended game by me. It is, I would say, it's the hot game of the month currently, and they just added new weapons, new methods for breaching. There's all sorts of stuff, and this is the perfect sign of an indie studio beating out a AAA studio that couldn't do the same. I mean, you have Rainbow Six Siege out there doing who knows what with their stuff. The game is a hot mess. It's losing players. Not many people play it anymore. Some still do. I still play it every once in a while. But then you come over here and look at Ready or Not, and this shows you that you can have this high quality game from a very small studio. It makes you wonder what they could do if they had much more resources. So looking back at this, I'm very excited about that. Very excited on all of this that we looked at. Excited for new indie games to come out, because That's definitely a big plus. I'm not seeing too many good AAA games in the modern times. If there's any you particularly like that I didn't describe or anything like that, then shoot me a message or put a comment. I would say Horizon Zero Dawn is definitely one AAA game that is definitely looking polished and good. Second game is PlayStation exclusive though, so that's definitely going to take a hit for most people. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands was, again, a very nice looking game, but it's very demanding on the hardware that you have in your computer if you're playing it on that. And I liked it. I just don't know how many times you're going to want to replay the game over and over, so you got to keep that in mind. Need for Speed Heat, it's a AAA game, but it left a lot to be wanted. The ending was quite abrupt. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it was quite abrupt. Once the story's done, not really much to do. So again, that's all for this time on Game Talk, and next time, make sure to listen in and we will talk about more stuff with games. Have a good day.